principal of the school here. This is McCall Middle School, and I want to welcome all of you. It's great to see such a good turnout to our special program, Parenting to Empower, helping teens navigate. Before I introduce Rosa, I want to offer some special thanks to some individuals and organizations that are responsible for the program this evening. There are 4 key people who work in the Winchester Public Schools who really brought this program to Winchester. An 8th grade guidance counselor, Becky Jacques, a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade family and consumer sciences teacher, Jane Maloney, a middle school and high school family and consumer sciences teacher and coordinator of the program in Winchester, that's Janine Lavoie, and then our director of student services for the entire system, Bob Belmont. They had the vision that if they wrote a grant, we could bring the Empower program to Winchester. And let's give those folks a nice big round of applause. The grant they wrote was to the Winchester Foundation for Educational Excellence. The Winchester Foundation for Educational Excellence. And in Winchester, we know that group as WIFI. And it's been around for more than 10 years. In times of tight budgets, this marvelous organization has supported those extras in our school system, equipment and special programs like this evening's program. Way back when the program first took place, we got an inflatable planetarium. That's an exciting part of what we do here at McCall and have done for a number of years. So I want to thank WIFI because their grant was substantial. I also want to thank several other organizations. Well, yes, let's give them a nice round of applause. Absolutely. And whether you're from Winchester or surrounding communities, I know we all know about tight budgets and how marvelous it is to have these great support organizations that come through in these difficult financial times. Additional financial and organizational support has come from our Parent-to-Parent program. This program was founded back in 1982, and you're looking at one of the founders. I was at Winchester High School at that time, and we felt we needed more parent education. The kids in the high school talked to each other all the time, but parents rarely did, back those many years ago. At least we didn't think they did. And Parent-to-Parent, here we are 22 years down the road, has provided education and support programs, initially for high school students, but for over the years for students of all ages. And I just would mention that there are 2 upcoming follow-up presentations to Rosalind's program tonight for middle school parents, boys and girls, 2 special discussion groups led by Rick Irving, who is a local child and family therapist and Parent-to-Parent's most requested speaker. I just would say, Rick, he's funny, he's got a great sense of humor, but there's a lot of substance there. And if you're interested in one of those programs, there'll be flyers outside on your way out. So we thank the Parent-to-Parent program for its support. We want to also thank the Multicultural Network. In Winchester, you know that they've been around for a bit, helping us become a more diverse community as we seek to recognize, understand, and appreciate differences. So we sincerely appreciate all the good work that the Multicultural Network has done in the past and continues to do, and they're a key sponsor here this evening. Also want to mention my McCall Middle School Parents Association. This is my 21st year as principal here. I could not do without the wonderful people in that organization and the fantastic support they've given us, including this evening's program. We also want to mention the Winchester Cooperative Bank and the Rotary Club of Winchester. All these marvelous groups have made this program happen this evening. Now, how about a nice round of applause for all of them? To set this in the context of what we've been doing here at McCall Middle School, we for a long time have had a basic core value of respect for self and others. And we've done a number of things over the years to try and create in this school a more respectful, supportive, welcoming environment for everyone, for our students, for our staff, for our parents and people who come to visit the school. This year we really decided to ratchet up a notch or two and focus even more on doing whatever we can do to create a more supportive environment, particularly focusing on harassing and bullying types of behavior. Earlier in the year, at an early release day in September, Norman Kuntz came and spoke to us, and he's a man with cerebral palsy. This place was jammed, including the balcony. All the students and staff at McCall Middle School were here as Norman enthralled us. We were spellbound for an hour as he talked about what it was like to be a man, a boy and a man, with a major disability, what it was like in society, what it was like particularly for the students in schools, and how important it was for him and others like him to be included. And that was a wonderful message. Last week, on the 25th, at our second release day, all of the students and staff in two separate assemblies, we divided the school in half, watched a video, Let's Get Real, and some of you have heard of that. It's a 35-minute video, just young people, middle school people, it was cut out in California, talking about their experiences. So it was middle school students to middle school students, talking about their experiences being bullied, all types of bullying and teased, but also some of them were bullies themselves, and talking about that. We then had follow-up discussions with adults in our homerooms. The program was introduced by McCall student leaders who had attended an anti-bullying conference last spring, sponsored by Project Alliance, which is Middlesex County District Attorney's program that we have been involved in. So, and then we come to the Empower program that began today with Rosalind and Marlon here at McCall. All of the 7th and 8th grade boys and girls met with Rosalind and Marlon, the boys with Marlon in the gym, the girls with Rosalind here. And she'll talk some more about that. We have this evening program. Tomorrow they will meet with the 6th grade boys and girls, and then tomorrow afternoon they will come and talk to our faculty. So it's a very comprehensive program as we try to do everything we can to create the best possible environment in our middle school for one and all. Okay, now on to our special speaker, and she's ready, she's psyched up, I know that. Just a few words. In 1992, Rosalind Wiseman co-founded the Empower program, which now reaches over 10,000 youth and educators each year. She's the author of the New York Times bestseller, Queen Bees and Wannabes, Helping Your Daughter Survive Cliques, Gossip, Boyfriends, and Other Realities of Adolescence. This was published in 2002. Tina Fey and Lorne Michaels of Saturday Night Live have adopted this version of teenage girl tribal rights into the movie Mean Girls, which was released in April of this year. Wiseman has been profiled in national publications and television and radio shows, including the New York Times, People, Oprah, Nightline, CNN, and National Public Radio. I looked at it today and said, you look too young to have done all these things. And she chuckled at me and said, well, I do have 1 or 2 gray hairs. I said, well, join the club, okay? I also want you to know that Rosalind is working on a new book that involves or focuses on social competition among parents. And that sounds like a very interesting read for all of us. So I want to welcome Rosalind. You can now, Rosalind, add Winchester, Massachusetts, McCall Middle School. Winchester is about 8 miles north of Boston, right in the heart of Red Sox Nation. All right? Rosalind, welcome. Welcome, Rosalind.
Good evening. Thank you for coming out this evening. I appreciate it a lot. So, there's a lot of you. There's one of me. My goal this evening is that when you walk out of here, you feel like I have said something that actually can help. I don't think there's anything more annoying than having somebody who's supposed to be an expert give you, tell you about how horrible things are, and then say, see you later, bye. So my goal this evening is to give you concrete strategies. That is my goal. Now, before I go into sort of the way the world looks to me, I also want to tell you that I'm going to present to you a truth, my truth. It's not everybody's. I'm going to show you the way I think the world looks to me, and then you take it for what it's worth. So I just want to give you, I had a personal experience recently about getting advice. There's tons of parenting advice, you know that. And there's tons of books out there. Mine are some of them. And I'm a mom, and I have 2 boys, by the way, if anybody's wondering. And I have, my older son is 4, and he's one of those boys that any opportunity to do something dangerous, he is going for it. So I was in Kansas City, and I had a friend of mine who's an expert in young children and toddlers, and she was driving me, and I thought, oh, here's an expert. I don't know anything about toddlers except for being a mom. So she could tell me. So I said to her, can you tell me what to do when he's doing something that's dangerous to get him to maybe not do something that's so dangerous? And she says to me, okay, here's what you do. I'm like, okay, here's some wisdom coming at me. She says, the next time he's about to do something really dangerous, ask him. Instead of saying, no, that's dangerous, say, is it safe or is it dangerous? Because if he's, very independent and needs to make up his own mind, then he'll be able to make up his own mind, and then he won't do the thing that's very dangerous. I'm like, okay, got it. I come home. Within 45 minutes, my son and his very best friend, Dean, who's his age, are about to jump off of sort of the front porch of my house onto the, onto our porch. So I say, Dean, Elijah, is this safe or is this dangerous? And Elijah says, it's dangerous. And so I say, sort of defeated, so Dean and Elijah, why are you doing this? And Dean doesn't miss a beat, and he says, because it's dangerous. So, all of that said, what I'm going to tell you tonight is my truth. Take it with a big grain of salt and take it for what it's worth. This is the way I see the world. Okay. Now, this says up here, because violence should not be a rite of passage. You might think in your community, well, what does that have to do with me, right? I mean, we're not in a place where kids are pulling knives on each other, maybe, kids aren't stealing each other's lunch money. Maybe that's not what it is. So why? Why is this up here? Violence should not be a rite of passage. For reasons that I hope I can convince you this evening. Why is it more than, why is it more than girls gossiping and being catty? Why is it more than why we think of these things as superficial rites of passage? Oftentimes people say to me, when I'm interviewed and stuff like that, well, what's the big deal about this? You go through middle school, you go through high school, it's a rite of passage, and you let it go. Maybe you're stronger for it. My response to that is that no matter where you are in the pecking order, you could be a perpetrator of bullying, you could be a bystander, you could be a target, you could be a victim, is that if it's a girl, say, it might even look different. If it's a girl, you could decide that nobody's going to talk to another girl. We've just decided that's not going to happen, and nobody really knows why, and you just completely shut that girl out. Now, if you're a guy, you could end up in the trash can every day after school. It looks different, but actually what I think is it's the same, because it teaches whoever has power and privilege in your community that they can do with that power and privilege what they want to kids who don't have it. And that is an experience and a lesson that all kids learn, be it the perpetrator, the bystander, or the target. And that is inclusive to all communities. Okay. Why is it important beyond that? Because I think that our culture, and I'm going to describe what that means in a little bit, teaches 3 things. One is I think it teaches silence in the face of cruelty, to yourself and to others. I think that our culture teaches us to please others who have more power. And I think that we learn to maintain relationships at all costs, even when the price is you. And I don't care if it's that you're 12, and I talked to the girls about this today, Marlon, I don't know if you did, with the boys, but with the girls, I said to them, look, you all, when you're really good friends, you know everything about each other. everything. You know everything about what you're the most sensitive about. What you don't, what you hate to be teased about. So you finally, you know, so your good friend is like saying these things that you can't stand, that you're really embarrassed about, and you finally get your courage up to say to your friend, could you please stop like teasing me about whatever it is? And your friend says to you, you know, I'm just joking. I'm just sarcastic. You're being really over emotional. Okay? Girls are not the only people who do this. We do this too. So what I said to your daughters today, if you had daughters in 7th and 8th grade, is when you say that, when you say, even though you don't really realize what you're saying, what you say when you say, I'm just sarcastic, you know, that's the way I am, you're being overly emotional, is that your right to be sarcastic is way more important than the other person's right to be treated with dignity in that friendship. So it might look like that's not really what's going on, but be very clear that that's really what is going on. Okay, it could look like that when you're 12, but it could also look in high school like you won't break a relationship with somebody at a party or somebody you're dating because you've learned to constantly sacrifice who you are in the process. You've learned in 6th grade to please other people who have more power. That might look like a queen bee in your group. By 9th grade, you're doing it with the boy that you're dating. By 10th grade, you're doing it with the guys on your team. These are actually pretty big issues because they teach us about what it means to have a voice in our community. When are we allowed to speak out when we see injustice, and when are we silent? And that's something that our kids are learning from our culture. Now, what do I mean by culture? Who was dreading when you saw PowerPoint? Like, oh, this is gonna be so boring. Anybody seeing that? Okay, I did not use PowerPoint for 2 years because every time I went to a PowerPoint, I was convinced it was the worst teaching mechanism ever. Because people, you know, with like monotone voice, so boring. So I will try very hard not to do that. So, first one, the big picture. Culture, femininity, and masculinity. Culture is the customary belief, social forms, and material traits of a racial, religious, or social group. Oh, thank you. My definition is everything we know but have never been sat down and taught. So, one of our colleagues was working with some boys recently, and she said, so like, what does culture mean to you? And he says, well, you know not to go out of your house naked. I'm like, okay. Now, actually, as a mom, I actually had to say that to my children. But, so that was actually expressly taught in my house. But, apparently in his house, he gets it a little bit more quickly than my boys do. Everything you know would have never been sat down and taught. So now I want you to think about, well, what does that mean as far as how you are as a woman, or how you are as a guy, how you are as a girl, how you are as a boy? So femininity is the quality or nature of the female sex. Let me go off script for a second. I asked your girls in the 7th and 8th grade what this meant to them, and I'm going to tell you something. They were very honest with me. I said to them in the very beginning of my guidelines, I have no interest in hearing the right answer because I think kids know exactly what to say to people like me. I wanted to hear what they really thought. And they said, when I asked them to define femininity for me, they said a lot of it was about you have to regulate what you say constantly. You have to be able to get people to do what you want, and you have to really be careful about what you say. You have to lie, you have to hide, you have to conceal. That was a theme throughout both the 7th and 8th graders. Now, in my world, I actually agree with them. I don't really emphasize it as much as they were, but I agree. Was great body, guys like you, you're in control and smart enough to get people to do what you want, which is what your girls were saying, right? That's that last sentence. Now, when you get older, we do not leave these issues behind, right? I remember, I said in the intro that in my introduction about the book that I'm writing right now, parents have some issues. It is unbelievable. It is. If I can survive writing this book, I'm enjoying it, but woof, it's a hard one. Okay, so when we grow up, you must have a relationship with a man, a great body no matter how many pregnancies, want children in the first place, and be on top of all thank you notes, gifts for the occasions, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Now, we're going to have some truth here, women, and then, don't worry, you're not far behind. Okay. Must have a relationship with a man. Single moms tell me how difficult it is to be single moms in schools, regardless of the socioeconomic class or anything like that. It's hard. It's very hard to feel like you have to keep up, and you feel alone, and you feel like you don't have that thing in common with moms who do have somebody in the house with them. Great body, no matter how many pregnancies, everybody knows that. If you've had a kid, Okay. Want children in the first place. I want you to see how this might work in your world. Counselors in the room. Any counselors in the room? Is there any counselors in the room? Okay. So say you remember maybe when you first started out, or people in the room who don't have kids, and you were having a conflict with a parent, you needed to have a parent meeting with their child that was not about how fabulous they were, even though you did lots of affirmation and stuff like that. But then the parent says, but you don't know what this is like. No, I'm sorry, let me back up. They say, do you have children? And then all of a sudden your opinion is absolutely pointless, right? You have no validity to what you're saying, even though you're hanging with this kid like all the time. So it actually gets to be very silencing for teachers when they don't have kids and parents come in and say, do you have kids? And you say, well, no. Well, then you don't really know what it feels like. Now, last one, be on top of all thank you notes. I'm going to put it a little bit differently. Yes, thank you notes, hugely. But bake sales. Okay, women, we cannot blame men on this at all. At all. I'm all for putting responsibility where it should be, but this is not one of those. My very good friend, my really good friend, who is incredibly smart, who works her, tail off, whose husband works and is extremely, very present in his children's lives. Well, her daughter had a birthday a couple weeks ago. And at 12 o'clock at night, my very good friend, who knows better, is making cupcakes. Okay? That's a very nice thing for mothers to do. This woman was exhausted. She could have gone to the store and bought the cupcakes. Nobody, like the kids, would have cared. Do the kids really care about cupcakes you bring to school? They're like, oh, great, put it in their mouth, it's done, right? So when a mom who's working outside the home and inside the home comes to the school with the baked goods for the bake sale or the birthday, and she's like, here it is, right? I mean, you could even have frosting in your hair. And the other moms, they say, like, I don't know how you do it. And the mom says, it was nothing. Right? I mean, what are we talking about? We are making ourselves crazy. And this is one of them. And we cannot blame dads because they are not being irresponsible dads by refusing to be up at midnight making these cupcakes. Okay? All right. Now, I think I'm getting some clapping from a dad. All right. Masculinity, not to be outdone. Having qualities appropriate to or usually associated with man of or forming the formal, active, or generative principle of the cosmos. Now, if you don't believe me that this is in the dictionary, go look it up, Google it, and you will find it. I swear. Now, my first reaction to that is, people are laughing. My first reaction to that was, I think I literally stamped my foot and said, like, the world is so sexist, this is so horrible, da-da-da-da-da, because I'm sort of prone to those kinds of moments. But then I had a real moment of, okay, hold on, just check yourself for a second. It is very sexist for me, but it is also, in fact, even more so sexist for men. Right? Because if they are responsible for the causation of the universe, right? Then they better be bringing home the means for their family to survive, right? And so and I'm not excusing the behavior. What I'm saying is we have to look at it so we understand it. Is if we're going to get on men about being insensitive and all they care about is work, then we have to understand how and why they're driven to be that way. So the culture is everything we know but have never been sat down and taught. What are you taught about what it is to be respected in your community as a man or as a woman? Now, for boy world, it's personifying self-reliance, control over yourself and others, and be able to discuss professional sports with authority. So, by the time boys are 5, they've got like their favorite players, and they're competing with each other about how much they know about other sports teams. Or boys, frankly, because I have a lot of boys in my life. I live on a block, I live on Brownstone. I live on a block of 20 houses with 14 boys under the age of 4. People are gonna be so scared to put down my, they're like, oh no, there's 2 girls, poor thing. And can you imagine how protective, this is gonna be probably like the pain in the butt neighbor. Okay, so, these boys wanna do everything fast. Everything's a competition. Everything. Now there's some biological stuff to that, but also the culture of what it means to be a man is really important. So when we grow up, great laugh, funny, good marriage, great body, but can't look like you spend your life at the gym, because that would be trying too hard and that would be lame. Make lots of money, spend lots of money, never look like you're worried about the money. And from my interviews with men now, let me tell you, they're thinking about this all the time. They are worried about the money. As they're throwing it away, they're worried about the money. All right, now, where are we? Okay. Before I go into my little box thing, I just want to say this. Where does all this stuff come from? Now, I'm writing about this in my new book, but I want to say, so I don't have all the answers right now. I probably won't. I can't imagine I would, even by the end of that, writing this book. But I want to tell you that there are probably people in the audience who are wondering, because Marlon and I, one of the big questions we get is, and Shantara, the people in power say, the parents will come up to us and say, what do you think happens to those queen bee girls? Do you think they grow up to be queen bee moms? That is such a leading question, okay? Or, why? Why are these girls this way? Why? I can't give you an answer like, well, she's a Taurus, right? So you're like, oh, well, that explains it all. I get it, right? I mean, if I told you I was an Aries, which I am, there'll be people in the room who'd be like, of course, right? Of course, that's why she does this. Or there are other people, my mother is a big supporter of this, family birth order. Family birth order is like, oh, you're a middle child? Of course. Apologize for things, try and be a peacemaker. I get it, right? Only children, selfish, can't share. Horrible. World is going down the tubes because there's so many only children, right? Okay. An actual point of fact, with all of the studies on family birth order and stuff and things of that nature, only children actually, and I'm not one, actually score incredibly highly on functioning, independence, cooperation, leadership, all of those things. Just to say that. It surprised me, frankly, I will tell you. I was like, really? I thought they were selfish, horrible little brats. Okay. But just to say about birth order, there are people who are like, I need an answer. Well, birth order is not actually an answer because it gives you about 10% of why a person's personality is the way they are. But birth order is only the beginning of it. Because in my family, I've got me and my brother, we're 4 years apart, and then my sister came 15 years later. Right? Same parents. Or 11 years with my brother, 15 years for me. So that family of 3 is a completely different family than a family of 3 where there's 2 years apart of all the kids. So we really have to be careful also the size of the family, the span of years between the family. And I'm saying all of this because we want to have an easy answer. There is no easy answer. What we are looking for is patterns of behavior where you can take ownership of things, of the world where things get really squirrely and you feel really out of control and you feel really anxious as parents because that's normal. And what I'm trying to do is say there are patterns of behavior, there's things we can do, the way to understand these issues so that you can make better decisions and negotiate your way through it with your head held high. Okay? All right, now, what's this box stuff? For those people who have read Queen Bees and Wannabes, I'm not gonna put you on the spot, but I did go into this. For girls, when we ask girls around the world, actually, English-speaking world, let me clarify, what do you have to belong? This is what they answer. Right style, pretty, thin, nice hair, popular, like you're known, nice on the outside. Your girls here were very clear about that. Confident, good grades. Good grades can mean you can have good grades, but you can't look like you're trying too hard. Athletic, you can be athletic, but once you go off the field, you can be as competitive as you want on the field, but once you get off the field, you go back to being in girl world. Okay? Now, what are the words that girls use as weapons to put each other down that signify that they're not in girl world? One is fat. 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 One is no friends, tries too hard. Pretty much trying too hard, no matter how old you are, is a very bad thing, apparently, in our culture. Because in our culture, we have to look like we're trying. It's all effortless. Gay, slut, and shy. All right? Now, before I forget, I also told your girls, because it had come up, that I said, look, sometimes girls say the words bitch and slut, like, hey bitch, what's up? Hey slut, what's up? Right? And parents will say, oh, that is horrible language, you should not do that. That's disrespectful, that's whatever. It is. But I think what we need to do, what I told the girls today, and I would suggest that you share with your girls is this. This is how I say it to them. You can say whatever you want to your friends. I am not going to tell you what to say. I can't even control what would come out of your mouth. But I want you to be clear about what you're buying into when you say those words. When you call girls sluts, you're saying that they're only the sex or the sexual object that they are. And when you call a girl bitch, bitch has been historically used to put women down when they've been perceived to be sort of, pushing, right? They need to be put back in their place. In boy world, that we're going to go into in a minute, bitch is used as the ultimate emasculation for men. So if you want to say that to your friends, I can't stop you. But if you do say it, you got to know that you are buying into a world that is trying to oppress you. It is trying to make you feel less than, and you are buying into that when you do it. So I can't control you, but that's what you're doing. Be clear about what you do when those words come out of your mouth. Now, let's see, what else? I'm going to show you the boy box. Strong, tough, funny, right style, money, girls, athletic, money, and presents well. And then what are the weapons? Like a girl, weak, gay, and sensitive. Now, for some people, when they come to, in the world of Empower, they get a little like, well, haven't we been dealing with this for like 40 years, and why are we still dealing with this? We're in, you know what? This country is in crisis about masculinity, and it's in crisis about how it gets respect. I'm a big political theory buff. The country has based itself, pretty much from our beginning, on seeing itself as being self-sufficient, independent, strong, the things that are in the box for men. It is certainly the thing that we are grappling with right now in this country, clearly. It is a very painful crisis, I think, that we're going through, and it is a crisis of masculinity. So, what you'll see is that we have done a lot. The problem is that there are reactions to the sort of the things that when we push, and boys have a different world than we had a generation ago, for better and for worse. They have been raised by, for the most part, women who they are seeing in a variety of different roles besides being a caretaker. They are also living in a world that the culture says to them, you have to have the right style, and you have to have the right look, and you have to have the right body, meaning you have to be cut, like a six-pack and stuff like that. Sixth grade boys will tell me, have I ever had a group of sixth grade boys who said you don't, that they always say you need a six-pack. Sixth grade boys from then start saying that. So they're in a culture just like the girls. We like to think about the girls being the ones that struggle with this stuff. Girls are not the only people who do this. Boys are just as much in this world as they are. So for boys, it's not starving themselves into being skinny. It's about being cut and muscular and personifying masculinity. But you can't look like you're trying too hard, because then you'll be labeled as gay. Now, notwithstanding that we see gay things on movies or Will and Grace and stuff like that, this is a huge issue for kids, for both boys and girls. And just bear with me for just a minute, because I want to sort of explain this. As a person who is straight and married, it's just too hard not to say things from last night. Okay. As a woman who is straight and married with 2 kids, as an educator, and I'm assuming that there's some educators in the room who are like me, I think we have especially now, a moral obligation. And I'm saying moral values. We have a moral obligation to speak out. Because if gay people talk about homophobia, that's like a gay issue that's dismissed. But what I need you to really understand from the bottom of my heart is that this isn't a gay issue. Homophobia is intrinsically tied to gender in our culture, and how kids get respect and how they don't get respect, how they prove that they belong in the girl world or how they prove that they don't. I'm going to tell you a little story that I think encapsulates all of this that I see all over the place. And it might get to a little place where you sort of gets you uncomfortable, but then I'll leave and we can go somewhere else and then I'll come back, okay? All right, so when you've got girls who are in 5th grade and they're like best friends forever, and they, do each other's hair, and they, like just always are with each other all the time, that's okay when girls are in 5th grade. But by 7th or 8th grade, kids start to tease them, gossip about them. And one of the girls will be lots of times will be really sensitive about that because she's being labeled as a dyke or butch or gay or whatever they're saying, lesbo, whatever. So she's in 7th or 8th grade. So then what she does is she looks for, and literally, and I'm using my verb choice on purpose here, she seeks out sexual interaction with a boy that usually looks exactly like he belongs smack in the middle of this box. This is usually an older boy, and an older boy who needs to prove that this is what he is, that he belongs right in there. Now, if you think about masculinity as a pose, as a demonstration, then what happens is, this is why girls who are smart, who have been told by their parents all different kinds of things, who have good parental role models, that gossip works to get that girl to meet this boy in a park with nobody around. And also, because masculinity is something that most of the time these kind of boys need to present, they need to demonstrate, this is why they get video cameras, and this is why they call up their friends and say, hey dude, come on over, I'm going over to my house and this girl's coming with me. Okay? Now, what I know from working with boys, and Marlon I'm sure can bear this out, is that you get 2 boys who come, say it's 3:30 and you're at work. You are not a terrible, horrible person for working, male or female, and your kid goes home, and takes advantage of the fact that you're not home, okay? So your kid comes home, and 2 other kids, come over. And the boys walk down into the rec room, and the two boys, if not one, at least one, says to himself, oh man, I hate this, this is messed up. When I work with men and I ask them, have you ever seen, there's not enough men, I don't want to put them on the spot here, but when I'm working with a group of men and I say, look, close your eyes and raise your hand if you've ever seen a man do something denigrating, to another guy because he's weak or perceived to be weaker, gay, whatever, or to a woman, and you wanted to say something but you couldn't, all of them raise their hand. Because the way we define masculinity is if you're going to speak out, then if you're going to do something when somebody's being treated badly, is that you physically intervene. And if you speak out against your friends, then that's being perceived as disloyal. So what you have is a group of boys who walk in, have this horrible feeling in their stomach. And the way we define masculinity in our culture is you physically intervene, or what are you going to do? You do that to your friend? No. And what also happens is that the guy that really needs to prove he belongs in this box will say, you do this too. And if you say no, your masculinity is questioned. So what we've got in our culture is boys who question other boys' right to be denigrating, disrespectful to other men or to other women, that they are accused of being sexually attracted to men. That's what the culture is telling kids. It makes no sense. Literally, logically, makes no sense. That's what we've got. Any of your kids watch, I actually had some of the kids raise their hand today. WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, is evil in this way. And I use that word very sparingly. Evil. It is teaching boys that masculinity is about denigrating other people. It is teaching them that after you physically destroy them, you verbally humiliate and taunt them. And it is also about denigrating the women in it horribly. Now your kids are going to say, Mom, Dad, it's not real, no big deal. It's not real. That's not the issue. The issue is that it's teaching them, culture is everything you know but have never been sat down and taught, is teaching them without them realizing it. What does masculinity mean? Okay? So, this stuff is important because in essence, the root cause of bullying, at essence, is that there are enough people, no matter what their age, who want to be in this box, that the only way they do it is to push other people out. And when you push other people out, you don't see them as equal. Right? And also, if a friend of yours goes after somebody, and your friend's in the box and the other person's outside the box, you're not going to say anything because then you get along with the person outside the box. That's what bystanding is. That's what it is. So this is about gender, but this also, I hope you would see, is about homophobia, It's about classism, because you certainly have to have the money to have the right style, no matter what community you're in. And, well, let's just leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. Okay, so that is basically Empower's paradigm. It's having kids understand what they're being convinced or tricked into believing about what it takes to have respect, and then we redefine this paradigm and say, you make it for what it is. That's what Empower is about. Okay, now, there's a couple things I just want to say. This is about, I'm going to give you strategies all through my talk. This is basically a marketing part of the program. Talking to adolescents is tricky, okay? I've spent 12 years trying to figure out how to get kids who think that I'm not going to have a clue, that I'm stupid, that it's going to be stupid, this is going to be boring, how to get them to listen. So here's just a couple things that I think are important about word choice. Number one is try, although it's very hard not to, try to stop saying to your kids things like, you're dressing inappropriately, your music is terrible, violent, degrading, horrible, I can't believe you're listening to this stuff. What else? Let's see. Music, clothes, movies, all those kinds of things. Now, that might be true. I have no issue with the content of what you're saying. The problem is that those words make kids absolutely shut down. Think about their culture as their religion. If you asked if you said, people have their religion, they might have issues with it, but when somebody else criticizes it, you get really, your back gets up. Same thing with kids. Culture is their religion, so be specific. When they walk downstairs and they're dressed like in a dress that's like this big, or their pants are like down to here, what I would strongly suggest you do is to name exactly what you're saying. Instead of saying inappropriate is like a really big one, right? Parents, it's so difficult for parents not to use this word. You are dressed so inappropriately, right? I mean, how annoying is that? So what I'm suggesting you do is say what you see, right? Okay, I see that you are wearing a dress that looks like saran wrap. Okay? You are wearing something that is so tight and so small. Can you breathe? Like, you can make jokes about it. And they can roll their eyes, that's fine. But what I would be specific about what you're saying, and then what I would say, and this I do talk about, this one little thing is from the book, is I say to them, look, I know that the point is that you want to be older. This is especially true for girls. It's more obvious, I guess, for girls. The point is that you're dressing to be older, to look older. Girls hate that. They're going to get very embarrassed about that. But say it. My question to you is, this is your kid, my question to you is, if your point is to look older, then are you going to feel as you go through your night that your behavior has to match your appearance? Does your behavior have to match your looks, what you look like, what you're wearing? Now, this is going to sound crazy to you, but parents want to fix the problem, right? You want to like throw a blanket over your kid, right? Okay, not going to work. Of course it's not. There's all different, you all know, I'm not going to say this, but you know this, that you can tell her to go upstairs, which is all good. I'm all about boundaries and rules, but she'll, if she really wants to, she'll put it in her bag and she'll change it at a friend's house, or she'll go and get something from her friend. Here's the thing. Let her walk out of your house feeling that feeling of, am I going to have to match? Is my clothes going to match my behavior? Am I that pressed, basically? Am I feeling like I've got to be able to do that? Let them walk. One of the most important things I can tell you about working with teenagers is to let them walk out of the room uncomfortable. Let them walk around the whole night pulling their skirt down, pulling their dress down, pulling up their pants, and thinking, this is good. Okay? It's one of the most important things I can tell you, because you're not going to be able to fix that problem the way you want it to be fixed, which is go upstairs right now and put on the biggest pair of jeans you can possibly find. Okay? All right. Next one also. Click. Do not say that word. No more saying the word click, and if you say clique, that's even so much worse. So you cannot say clique. I was in Australia and they say clique. Those are the only people that can say clique. It's like normal. You cannot say clique. And I work in all girls schools, and those people lots of times they'll just say the word clique. I don't care. Don't say it. So use the word group. You're good. The girls won't roll your eyes as much, because when you say the word clique or click, you feel like the girls feel like they're being accused of something. Popular, very bad word. Very bad word, because kids feel like they're being accused of something. So I define popular in two ways. One is where people are like nice because they're inclusive and generous and they apologize when they do something wrong. And the second definition is pretty much opposite of the first definition, where you make people choose one person over the other. You can ruin somebody's day with a look. That's the kind of thing. That's the second definition. That's like evil popularity. Okay. Now, I went over. Oh, did I say tone of voice? Try really hard to not say that's a fresh talk, tone of voice, because that's another one that like shoots people's annoyance way up. I'm not saying that the content's wrong. What I'm saying is name the behavior. Okay? All right, now, let's look at some clips from, actually before I do clips, I'm gonna go through, who's doing the clips? Who's doing that? You doing it? Okay, well I'm gonna go through, so it's okay, just give me a minute. Oh, y'all can't see this very well, but I'll say it out to you. This screen, don't worry about it, don't do my clips yet. Don't do my clips yet. Okay. No, I know you're ready, but don't do them yet. Okay. This says, I'm sorry, I think you have a hard time seeing this, but this is like a blonde girl with long curly hair, and it says 4 to 5 girls you hate. Lord, this is really bad. 4 to 5 girls you hate, ask for it by name. Sun in the original, stop hating them, start being them. That's what the girl world is telling girls. Now here's a positive story. Dads and Daughters, which is a great organization, thumbs up on Dads and Daughters, called the CEO of this company and said, who had two daughters, and said, dude, what's up? And the guy pulled the app. Good stuff. Okay, now, not yet, John. I know I can tell, I can feel it. Okay, we're gonna go through Residents of the Hive and then we can do the clips. Now, this is for girls and boys. Queen bee, dominator, rules others through a combination of fear, control, charisma, and social intelligence. These kids aren't horrible all the time. You know, if you have a kid like this, they're not horrible beasts, monster trolls all the time. The reason why they have power is because they're socially intelligent, because they're incredibly charismatic and fun to be around. So if you're, by the way, on the flip side, have a kid who likes to be around this child, you might think that they're horrible, but they have a lot of things that are really actually pretty fun about them. And it's really hard, it's really easy to forget that. But never forget that they are socially intelligent. Okay, next. Sidekick or backup. Get social security from her alliance, his alliance with the queen bee and the dominator. If this person is socially intelligent and verbal, and this is even more so the case with boys because you have a smaller pool of boys that are verbal in middle school as able that way. If socially intelligent can become the queen bee or the dominator. So, you know, kids can get overthrown. Some people hold the position forever, but you easily can be overthrown. Next is the banker. Collects information about others by pretending to be supportive. Women are particularly fabulous at this. Dispenses secrets at strategic times to create conflicts between peers. If there are any counselors in this room who are wondering, like, you feel like you have you like solve a problem with a group of kids, and then 2 days later the whole thing is like you never did anything, this is the banker causing fires. Very socially intelligent kid. Okay, next. Messenger. Trades in information, but is not the banker. She's not as socially intelligent. In fact, she's often seen as trying too hard. All right? Okay, and the floater, for both boys and girls, is truly confident, not completely invested in having the in-the-box characteristics. My good colleague, Joanne Deek, defines self-esteem as confidence, connectedness, and competence in fairly equal measure. Okay? Confidence, connectedness, competence in fairly equal measure. Self-esteem and the whole self-esteem movement for kids is like, okay? Kids know, especially girls, that parents are very focused, it's all very well intended, that girls should have high self-esteem. Girls know a lot of girls who look like they have a lot of high self-esteem that are unbelievably nasty. So really what we have to do is think about what the words mean. So what is what is self-esteem? Confidence, connectedness, and competence in fairly equal measure. And the target can be outside or inside the group. Let me say, it can be terrible to be in social Siberia, right? The one thing it's not is it's not confusing. You're not wondering, do those kids like me? Right? You're like, no, those kids are making my life miserable. It's very clear. But if it's inside the group, it's very tricky. And this is for both boys and girls alike. Because what you learn, remember I said in the very beginning, to maintain relationships no matter how much people are treating you like dirt, and whoever has power and privilege gets to do that, that's when it gets so tricky. When boys and girls realize, think and feel and believe that they have to be in this relationship no matter what, because the cost is too high if they leave. All right, now, let me show you, we're gonna switch now, John, you're on. All right, now I'm gonna show you 2 clips from Mean Girls. We good? Like, okay, everybody cross their fingers and say a prayer. Okay. The first clip is, okay, the basic scenario is that this kid who's been homeschooled goes to a high school for the first time and has no clue about what's going on in the school, and then the popular girls bring her in. And that's the first scene, okay? Now what I want you to look for is, what are girls saying and what do they really mean?
Why don't I know you? I'm new. I just moved here from Africa.
What?
I used to be homeschooled.
Wait, so you've actually never been to a real school before?
That's it.
Shut up.
Shut up! I didn't say anything. Homeschooled. That's really interesting. Thanks.
You're like really pretty.
Thank you.
So you agree? What? You think you're really pretty?
Oh, I don't know.
So if you're from Africa, why are you white?
Oh my god, Karen, you can't just ask people why they're white.
Could you give us some privacy for like 1 second?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, you should just know that we don't do this a lot, so this is like a really huge deal.
We want to invite you to have lunch with us every day for the rest of the week. Oh, it's okay.
Coolness. So we'll see you tomorrow. On Wednesdays, we wear pink.
Okay. Your girls got this right away. The most important thing to take out of this is, I think, is 2 things. One is, although, I don't write down what the girl said was really smart. I'll try and remember as I'm speaking. When Regina the Queen Bee says to Lindsay, but you're like really pretty, right? And then she sort of sits back like this, but you're like really pretty. And then Lindsay does like breaks the cardinal rule of Girl World, which is she says thanks. That is like huge breaking of the rule. So she says thanks, and then Regina says, oh, so you think you're really pretty? You're my competition? What are you doing? Why are you able to do that? Because in Girl World, you never, ever, ever say thanks. You put yourself down. And women do it all the time. All the time. Think about all the negative things that women are saying about their bodies all the time. And when we're proud of our accomplishments, we dismiss them. A lot of times. Amazing. Women have to look at that, because I don't know how we're going to reach our full potential, no matter how old we are, if we're going to dismiss our accomplishments in front of others. That's crazy. That's craziness. So this stuff really hurts girls, and it hurts women if and when they want to reach their full potential. The second part is that there is no space for Lindsay to say, well, frankly, actually, I don't really want to hang with you. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this thing of being with you at the lunch table, right? There is no choice. If you actually are, given the invitation, there's no room for no. Girls don't realize that they actually can, and boys actually don't realize that they can say no in friendships. Now, here's the next scene. This is one just for you. This is Regina's mom. If anybody saw the movie, I hope, this was definitely one of my favorite parts. Yep, I'm sorry, yeah, I'm ready. Cue the tape. The DVD.
I'm home. Hey, Kylie.
Hey!
Hey, how are my best girlfriends?
Hey, Mrs. George. This is Katie.
Hello, sweetheart. If you need anything, don't be shy, okay? There are no rules in this house. I'm not like a regular mom. I'm a cool mom. Right, Regina? Please stop talking. Okay. I'm gonna make you girls a hump day treat.
Okay. Now, it is very easy in this room to say, oh, that woman is so insecure, so I don't even share one DNA particle like that of that woman. No way. It is, and also when we see parents like that, when they're humiliated by their kids, like when Regina says, please stop talking, it's so awful. You know, I'm sure people have seen this where another kid will say something to a parent and you're like, I can't believe your kid's talking to me like that. And then you think, who is this crazy parent that they are going to let their kids talk to them like that? I just want to highlight for you, because we're moving into solutions and strategies, this is like our official segue, that as soon as we do that, we other that parent. Just in the box, like where you say, these people are like me and these people are not. When you see a mom or a dad like that, I think they become other and you don't see them as equal. I am certainly guilty of that. And the second thing I think is that when parents don't acknowledge the rudeness, I think what happens is you feel so out of, this isn't an excuse, this is just understanding, is that you don't know what to do, and so you don't want to see it. So you don't, or you don't know what to say, so you don't deal with it. So it looks like you don't even see it, or you're allowing your child to speak to you that way. I think that parents are mortified when their kids speak that way, but they don't know what to say. Okay? So, what are we going to do about this problem? Remember I said there's nothing more annoying than somebody saying like, oh, here's all these problems, see you later, bye? Okay, here's where we're going. Now, can we go back to PowerPoint, please? Number one. Just, yeah, go back to the PowerPoint, it's okay, I can still talk. I can talk for long, no worries. Email. I told the girls that are in 7th and 8th grade in this school, and I will tell the 6th grade girls tomorrow, that email is evil. Just like WWE is evil, internet is just as evil. That's a very strong thing for me to say. In the hands of a 6th, 7th, or 8th grade girl, instant messaging is a weapon of mass destruction. So, remember that mom who wants to be popular? You'll see this later, but I'm going to say this to you right now. It is easy, lots of people like me say, parenting is not a popularity contest, and everybody, including me, says, I don't have that problem. No, I don't have that problem when you're sitting in this seat right here. Here's just one suggestion for you. If the computer is in your child's room, get it out and put it in the public space of your house. Machiavelli's, I think one of the smartest things he ever wrote was that whoever controls the public space controls the populace. You are in control of your public space of your house. The computer is the most unbelievable representation of the public world in your home, okay? Get it out of their bedrooms and put it in your family space. Now, this is the other thing that I would have you do, because that doesn't end the whole, it's like, okay, no problem? No. Here's what I would do. I would sit down with your family, and I would say, what does this family stand for? What are the family values? Okay, so then your kids say, integrity, kindness, all those good things I hope you would say. And then you say, well, what is email used for? What is the internet used for? So then you can say, it's used for checking the weather. It's used for checking the presidential elections. It is used to communicate logistics about things, get all the positive, good things about why the internet is in our life. And then what I would suggest that you do, because remember, you never give out the information first, you always get it from your kids first, how much they know is very important. Everybody know that, right? Is you say, okay, so my children that I love very much, what is the internet, not that you do it, I just want to know in general, what is the internet used for that would be against our family values? And I think you will be amazed at the list of the creative things that kids do via the internet to destroy each other, or do things that would be completely against your family values. So, stealing people's passwords and profiles, anonymous petitions, all different, swapping pornography. That's a good one. We just had a school that had to deal with that. I'll talk about that in a minute. All different kinds of things. Then what I would do is say, okay, everybody decides. What are the consequences for the first offense, the second offense, the third offense, right? And get your kids to do it because they'll give you harder, consequences than you could convince them of. So put that down. and then put, an affirming thing about your family underneath it, like we, the Edwards family, really believe that we will try our best to abide by these rules. Then put your name down, and then and if you're a religious family, I would take it to your religious leader and sign it in front of your religious leader. If you're not religious, no problem. I would go down to your notary. I don't care if your kid is 8 years old. You get his library card, get her library card. Her word, his word is his bond. Now, when you've done that, take the email contract and put it next to the computer. Get it framed, okay? Now, when your kid has something really juicy come through the internet, they might still do it, but they know exactly what rule they're breaking. So the next time this email stuff comes around, they're going to be less likely to do it and less likely to do it. I've worked with kids on this. It works. This email stuff, it's not a family issue, it's only a family issue, not a school issue. Your homes and your school systems are interconnected. If you think otherwise, any principal who thinks that they are only responsible for the buildings of their school is naive and actually leaving their children vulnerable to danger. The internet and all different, you guys are in this together. The homes, the schools, parents, the schools are in it together. Now, that's an easy thing to say. Let me go back to my pornography ring. A couple weeks ago, one of our best schools that I loved the most had their back to school night. And two very nice 6th grade parents came home, and they caught their 6th grade son looking at an extremely graphic pornography site. So these parents did a little sleuthing because they were not technologically ignorant, and they found out that the child had been on 40 different sites since school had started. So they pressed upon the child and got where he got this information from, where he then shared that the boys were swapping resources, as the counselor told me. Now, this is a very conservative, politically conservative community, very conservative community. Here's what happened. Parents the next day called the school and they said, we have a problem that we need to share with you because this is impacting the school. We know it's impacting the school. And the second thing they said, we want you to know. The second thing they said is, we don't want you to fix our problem for us, but we want you to give us some advice. This is what the school did. The school met with all of the boys, the 6th grade boys, and it was the head of the school, the head of the middle school, the counselor, the computer person, and the health person. Sat the boys down, and the head of the school said, it has come to our attention that there are boys in the 6th grade class who are swapping pornography. Can you imagine the faces on these boys? Can you imagine the color? I heard that it was like the deepest purple, just like horrendously purple. So the head of the school says, this is the reason why pornography is against this community's values, and she explains why. Then the head of the middle school really reinforces that this is not a discipline issue. This is an issue of how they stand as a community and reaching out to their kids. The health person goes over a general sexuality kind of message and says, this is the reason why what you see in the pornography is not consistent with healthy adult relationships. The technology person puts the fear of God in those boys and convinces them that when they get into pornography, when they do this, that the pornography sites are trying to figure out ways to who they are, what their location is, where they're from. Okay? That was very good. And the counselor reiterated by saying, look, this is not a discipline issue. We care about you. We want you to be safe. This is why it's against the community values. And we expect, when you leave here, to tell your parents that this happened, that we talked to you. And right after this is done, we are going to be communicating with your parents by phone or by email, by whatever, about what we did. So the school did that, and not only did they do that, they also put on their website ways that parents could track and get information about the cookies and sort of the history of where their computers had been. This is what happened. They found out, they then did this with the whole school, that an 8th grade girl who had been forbidden from using instant messaging with her parents was doing IMing anyway and had just told somebody her personal private address, but thought it was safe because he lived in England. I told that to your girls today. And they were able to get her help, right, and find out what was going on with this guy. They also called the FBI. Number 2, they found out that some of the dads who really believe in this, in the box kind of stuff for dads, were sharing pornography with their sons as a way to come into boy world. But it's just hear that, okay? Now the other thing though that was really cool about the whole thing, there was another thing. One of the moms called the counselor and said, my son wasn't involved, but should I be worried that he's not? That's another world of boy thing like this, right? But check this out. From a problem of 6th grade pornography, internet, that makes parents completely crazy, not one parent complained. The only thing the school got was thanks. Because they handled it, and because it was a lesson for children that even when things adults are dealing with, makes us super uncomfortable, we are able to rise above our discomfort and do things for them that actually make a difference. That is a profound, really positive learning experience for kids. Okay, now, how are you going to talk to people? What are you going to say? How are you going to make this better? Let me just check my time. Okay. In general, what I would suggest you do when you've got a kid, if your son or daughter is in conflict with somebody, have them sit down, if they're like 7th grade and below, or they can do this on their own. Write down the 3 things that they have to have in a friendship. And they probably will say trust, loyalty, and be myself. So these are like their standards. And then say to them, when they're in conflict with somebody, describe the first 3 things that come to your mind about your relationship with that person. Now, do your experiences match your values? If they are, and this is like a bump on the road, then that's cool, and we want to keep that relationship, and I'm going to explain to you how to have the conversation kid to kid in a minute. But if you're not, if you're in a relationship that goes against your values, not the values I tell you, the standards I tell you, not anybody but you is telling you, why are you in those friendships? Why are you in friendships that go against the very thing that you say you stand for? And also, you have to ask your kids, are you behaving according to your own standards? Again, it's that thing of letting your kids walk around with this wondering of, am I or am I not? Because you can hate the children that they are friends with, but you can't stop them from being friends. But you can be an amazing parent by showing them how to think their way through it. That is effective parenting. Now, at Empower, we have this way of having dealing with conflicts with people. We do it no matter what. In general, if kids are having conflicts with each other, I want them handling it one-on-one, okay? But if your kid does their best and feels that they're not getting anywhere, then you can decide with your child who would be the next person to go to. It depends. There is not one set formula. It could be you talking to the other parent, and don't roll your eyes at me when I say that. It's talking to the teacher, it's talking to the head of the school, it's talking to the coach, it's talking to whatever, trying it again with the kid. But in general, at base, this is our strategy. The first thing you do is you stop, you breathe, listen, and think when and where, now or later. Okay? In my world of conflict resolution, there is no how without a when. Is that clear? You are not going to be confronting somebody unless you think about when you're going to do it. Because if you don't, you'll sabotage yourself. Okay, so breathe, listen, think, when and where, now or later. Next step, and you can have your kids write down, if they're upset about something, they can write it down before they face the person. Because who here hasn't been completely intimidated by somebody, and then you say like nothing to them when you've been really mad, and then 5 minutes later you think of the perfect thing to say. So write it down. Explain what happened and what that you didn't like and what you want. Be specific. As you might be able to tell, I am not a big advocate because I don't no offense to people who are teaching this way of doing it. My experience with young people is if we teach kids to say things like, it really hurts my feelings when you X, I really don't appreciate it when you Y, that is perceived as weak. And that sometimes the kids that I work with will say, in response to that, well, yeah, that was the point. Right? What are you supposed to say to that? Sometimes the kids end up apologizing to the kid who's being nasty to them because they, dare to sort of threaten their power. So we have to be really careful about, is the wording, although the content's right on, is the wording effective for when we teach young people? Because my experience is, when especially, there's a particular tone of voice that can really drive people crazy, is, it really hurts my feelings. when you spread gossip all over the school about me being a slut, right? Is that going to work in the real world? I don't think so. I haven't seen it work. Let me say it that way. Maybe it does. I haven't seen it. So, explain what happened that you don't like and what you want. You got to be specific. Now, affirm yourself and other people and the other person. You can tell this is like I'm not a very, I mean I'm very like, I love children, but I'm not into like the fuzzy warm language. So affirm yourself and the other person is not like I'm okay, you're okay. That's not what this is. It's I have the right to my opinion, you have the right to your opinion. We can differ about the facts, but I don't have the right to tell you that you're wrong about the way you feel, nor do you have the right to tell me that I'm wrong about the way I feel. Okay? That's a big difference. So we're affirming your right to have your opinion. Now the problem is that kids who have high degree of social intelligence are very verbal. And so they can very easily, this is where kids who are intimidated, get really tripped up because the kid says, well, that's not what happened. That's not the way it happened. I'm like, well, but that's the way I saw it. So that's not the way it happened. Well, your kids need to be able to know exactly, you know what? You really could think differently about it, but I get the right to the way I feel. And you cannot take that away from me, and neither can I of you. The second part also is, you don't have to be friends. You can walk down the hallway in one piece. This is the goal. I have the right to walk down the hallway in the school, as do you. I have the right to be on the soccer team, basketball team, baseball team, football team, debate team, whatever. I have the right to be here, as you do as well. Now, the last part is lock in or lock out the friendship. Lock it in, lock it out. You can lock it in, and it's good. You can lock it out and say, sayonara. It's cool to end the friendships. It's also fine to say, hey, look, but if you ever want to like rethink this, I'm right here. Ever want to revisit this friendship idea between the two of us? I'm right here. Okay? Now, I'm in trouble. Time-wise. Now, the last part of this is the art of the apology. We have to be able to teach our kids what an apology is because apologies are transforming things. So what are they? They're given understanding the crime involved. It doesn't include what the other person did. Like, well, I said that horrible thing about you because you told everybody else that I was this. That's not an apology. Last one, no last put downs. Well, I told everybody you look like a fat cow because in that skirt, you look like one. Do you want me to like not tell you when, do you want me to? Because I can like not say anything and then you'll go around the whole school looking like that. I don't know, I'm just trying to be your friend. Okay. Genuinely contrite. So if you say, my mom says I have to, my mom is making me, my dad is making me, my teacher's making me, that's not an apology, you have to try again. All right? Excuse me. The last one is, without the expectation of a return apology. If you are wondering if you have a queen bee child or a dominator, besides their social intelligence, one, because you can be socially intelligent and not be a queen bee, clearly, one of their hallmarks is that if they're going to apologize, they better get one in return. And if they don't get one, then they're rescinding their apology. And better you believe it. I'm sure some teachers and principals in this room might be able to relate to this, that their parents are just the same way. If my kids are going to apologize, I better get one back. That is not what an apology is. An apology is recognizing the wrongdoing that you did. If you get to return one, that's like icing on the cake. Okay. Now, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because we're running out of time. And I want to tell you about this parent code thing that I'm working on because I think it helps me a lot. So let me see if I'm, yes, I'm actually like really on top. Okay, good. Why are parents crazy? It's not, I am not, before I had kids, I was sure the parents were crazy. Now that I have children, I'm like, yes, we are, but now I know why. So, why are parents crazy? All the things I'm about to say in the next 5 minutes, understandable, except that when it rolls itself out, it leads to ineffective parenting. Number one is afraid you will make a mistake. What that really means is, I had a woman last week come up to me and ask me some question about her 5-year-old, and all of a sudden she burst into tears. Woman burst into tears. I said, what in the world is wrong? She said, I'm just so worried about screwing it up. Like, okay, first of all, if I have 1 minute a week when I think I'm a good parent, that is a good week. Okay? Second, is that why do you think if you make a mistake that your kid will all of a sudden like break into two? Your children are resilient. The only thing that is a mistake is if you shame them, like as a human being, make them ashamed of who they are, humiliate them as a person, and don't, in your own role modeling, own mistakes. But to try your best, your kids are resilient. And if they see that you're trying your best, they will give you a whole lot. Next one. No middle ground for involvement. I'm going to write so many pages about this. I'm writing it right now. Okay. Parent-to-parent stuff. Somebody went around the country and said, oh, no, no, no. Parents do not talk to other parents. It's a disaster. It ends in, like, I don't know, Armageddon, horrible legal suits. It's horrible. Don't ever, ever, ever do it. Okay. If you go up to a parent and question their parenting and say things like, I don't know how you raised your child, right? Because you're mad. You're totally mad. You hate the people that are mean to your child. So there's no middle ground for involvement. What happens is that a parent calls another parent and says, we've got a problem here. And the other parent might say something like, well, I think the kid should work it out on their own, don't you? My kid can handle it, which is, of course, the assumption is, I guess your kid can't, right? This is the kind of stuff that's going on among parents. It's making parents not be able to reach out to each other. So I would strongly suggest that you take SEAL and use it with other parents. Say what you don't like, say what you want, affirm them, you're working together, and if they're your friends, and you, by the way, you are, like I know from other parents, people are like in friendships with each other, with these other parents, and you also have to make decisions about locking it in or locking it out. Okay, next one. Accuse and excuse. This is one of my favorite like personal epiphanies as a parent. When my kid was little, my oldest one was little, he was in the playground and this kid hit him, threw sand at him, where is the sandbox? And my reaction was like, you are a horrible child. And where is the horrible person that raised you? Right? I'm like, where is that person? And then, of course, my kid did it back. And my reaction was, oh my gosh, he's so grumpy, I really need to take him home for a nap. Right? And as I'm walking away, I realized, oh, it is normal to accuse other kids of horrible behavior and hate their parents and hate their caretakers, but it is just as normal to excuse the same behavior in your own child. It's normal, it's very ineffective parenting. Next one. All right, whoa, okay. Give their children every opportunity. Who said this in this room? Come on. I want to give my child every opportunity. Come on. Please. Your kids were much more honest than you. Okay, raise your hands. I cannot believe this. Okay, now, put your hands down. Give your child every opportunity. It's totally natural and normal to want to do this. Totally. All good things are coming from wanting to give your children every opportunity. Okay, well, let's see how this rolls itself out. Number one, God forbid your child shows any aptitude for anything. Because then you're like, oh my gosh, well, we have to give her every opportunity. We have to get her into like playing the piano 4 hours a day. And then the thing that she might love becomes a job that she hates. Okay? That's the first thing. Now, there's a legitimate issue here about giving up something when it gets hard. I get it. I totally get it. But I want to just highlight for you that when the kids, when they decide to give something up that they're good at, that they do learn things along the way. And I would ask you about how much it is of yourself that you are giving up, about I want her to be good at something like that. I want her to be special. All kids are special. You know that. And the other part of this is, guess what? Say your daughter is an amazing pianist. She goes to Berklee School of Music, okay? You get to go, I know you're not superficial like this, but I'd be pretty psyched if I was going to a cocktail party and my friends were like, so, she's such a great pianist. And I'm like, yeah, she's at Berklee. Right? All right, in our culture is a superstar culture. There's no room for a middle ground. So what's happening in music and all different kinds of things is that those kids go there, it's so hyper competitive, and maybe she doesn't like the hyper competition, and she wants to drop out. Or she doesn't want to become, or God forbid, she's not good enough to be the superstar. Then what happens? What happens is there's no room, right? So what it's super hard because maybe she hasn't had the time, because she's a human being, to be as well-rounded in other things. And then she feels like she's not good at all these other stuff that she needs to be as a human being, right? So and also, even if she was the superstar, in our culture, when you're good at something, you get to be above the rules. Do you want to raise your child to be above the rules? Even if she was the superstar pianist, is it worth the price? We need to ask ourselves that question. But it all comes from a good place. Okay, 2 more. I'm gonna skip ahead. Oh, this is a good one. Okay, these 2. Constant communication makes safety, makes your kids safe, and protection. Just like I don't think computers should be in your kids' rooms, I don't think kids should have cell phones. I don't think they should. So, I know this is contentious, okay? I understand and totally, I'm gonna go for, it's 3 of 9. I'm gonna ask you, I'm gonna request that I go for 5 more minutes, and if you need to leave, I wanna make sure that I say this. I think when kids start to drive, I get it. You know, logistics, driving, directions, I'm more okay with that. But around the country, there are kids starting in 2nd grade, kindergarten, who have cell phones. Now, I wanted to be really clear about this. There's a lot of anxiety about how dangerous the world is, right? Because you are being, just like your kids are being fed a constant stream of media, you are as well. And it is convincing you that the world is a very, very, very unsafe place. And that if you give your child a cell phone, if anything goes wrong, they can call you. I have to tell you, I mean, I'm not being trite about this. You're not God. If your kid's in trouble, you probably are not going to be able to leap over time and leap over distance to be able to help them. Now, let me give it to you this way. Say your kid is in 7th grade, they're on a canoe trip. Every kid your kid has a cell phone. They go out onto the outside, right? They're in the water. Are they going to call you and say, Dad, how do I get back in the canoe? Right? How do I get back in the canoe? Or do you want them to figure it out on their own? Second thing is, from what I've talked to about counselors is, they wouldn't even do that because your kids are so loaded down with stuff, like their DVD players and their cell phones, that they would drown themselves trying to make sure that those things were okay. So I actually think cell phones disconnect you. And if you think in our generation, I'm 35, it was like we lied to our parents sometimes about where we were, you know, that was sort of a structured deception. There's only 3 or 4 places you would go and say, I'm going over to my friend's house, you'd go to your boyfriend's house, your mom would call over, then she called your boyfriend's house, and you'd call your mom, okay? Limited amount of deception. Cell phones make that infinitely possible. Infinitely possible. It is harder to know where your children are with cell phones. And the last thing is, make no mistake about it, cell phones are a mark of social status among your kids. Who has the highest, who has the best ring, who has this thing, who has that thing, and it is also an indicator of what you can get your parents to do. So, to the last one is protection. Parents love to say to me, and I really understand it, my job is to protect my child. You mess with me, mess with my kids, I will kill you, right? Okay. If your child is physically in danger, I'm okay with that, right? Tiger gonna come to your child, go for it. Put yourself in harm's way. But what we have to be really careful about is that our need to protect our child transforms itself into protecting them from consequences and protecting them from disappointment and failure. It is a natural thing to not want our kids to struggle. But they will be incompetent people if we don't let them do it. And if you don't let them do it, they're going to live with you forever. Okay? Now, my husband is from Spain, and we live in Spain a lot during the summer times, and like those people stay with their families until they get married. There's some pros and cons to that. I don't have time to get into that right now. They think we are crazy for kicking our kids out at 18. But I'm just telling you, you want competent children, you let them fail. And you let them, you protect them, you kiss their boo-boos when they're little, you try and kiss their boo-boos as late as you possibly can, and you hold their hand along the way, you walk behind them, you are somewhere in their vicinity, being their champion, being their advocate, and what that means is holding them accountable. So, This stuff is really important, but what I want you to realize is that it comes from natural, understandable reasons, okay? We are not bad people, we are not bad parents for doing this stuff. We want the best, and it's hard to realize how this stuff transforms itself into the day-to-day. Okay, so here's what I want you to come away with this evening. I want you to think about what those concrete strategies are. I hope that I've been able to transfer to you that this stuff is not superficial, that this is at base what, and I've been saying this for the last couple of months, but this is at base what our democracy is about. Some of you might be feeling a little bit disappointed about, the results from last night. Some of you might not be. What I'm asking you is to think about is if you're feeling disappointed right now, I'm asking you to think about where you stand as a community. Meaning that the work you do with your kids is sacred. It is sacred. So by making your child realize what boy world is and girl world is and how they feel compelled to make the decisions that they do, to prove that they belong, to admit wrongdoing, to see admitting wrongdoing and apologizing as a sign of strength, is antithetical to what this country is about right now. But it is at heart what morality and ethics are grounded on. So we have a responsibility, I as an educator, you as a teacher, as a principal, as a parent, have a sacred responsibility to fight for it. So if you are feeling disappointed right now, you know what? And I'm saying this to myself as much as I'm saying to you, too bad. Tough. It's hard. That's what we do. That's what a democracy is. So we fight for what is sacred, and we fight for teaching our kids moral values, apologizing, standing up for social justice, speaking out when someone is being bullied, when it's you or someone else. And honestly, I can't, as a mom, as an educator, think about what is more of a sacred responsibility to do. So when you walk out of here, I want you thinking about how important what you do is, and that it's worth fighting for. Because you're fighting for your home, your neighborhood, your school, and your community, and your country. So thank you for listening to me, and I'll turn it back over.
Bigelow looks for Hyde. Now top, Gaither, standalone jumper, good.
What a day this has been. What a rare mood I'm in. Why, it's almost like being in.
One, they're chasing Doug. They're chasing Doug with Paquette. Corner, Galante, bang for 3. Ready to go. Back this way, Bigelow, Gaither, jumper, good. At home, you know, hold court against an 0-2 team, and just what we needed to do. Jumper top of the key, that's good for Pierce. Galante, layup, good. Brian Roy defensively against Will Quack. Spin move, Quack nicely. Gets Keaty in the air and gets it to... 10 to shoot, 5:09 left in the half. Down.